Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. This is my initial thoughts video for Holiday Yufine. Now, even as I'm making this video recording, the patch is almost up, so you guys will probably get her. But for those who are watching to find out information whether or not you should be pulling for her, maybe if you spent all your bookmarks already on the past two banners, which I think was Celine and Mui, in terms of the new heroes, and let alone the filler banners, it's kind of sad if you're out of bookmarks because I think she's going to be really good. I'm going to talk about the release of Briar Witch Assyria in another video, so if you want to check out my thoughts there, definitely check out that video. But here, we're going to focus on Holiday Yufine. She's a Libra warrior, she's fire elemental, but don't let the fire fool you. If people are still stuck in the thought that it's an ice meta, it's not. It's really not. It hasn't been an ice meta in a very long time. If you do any sort of like RTA, Guild War, it's no longer that. I think RGB is very balanced now, and she will have something in her kit that we'll talk about in a bit. But Libra, very tanky. We have that in Little Queen Charlotte, Luna, those familiar with the Libra warriors. You can build them very tanky. The only downside to them is that their crit rate is very low. So building them like high damage with tankiness usually does require like the best gear. Like anyone who has a really well built Little Queen Charlotte, and people who struggle to build Little Queen Charlotte well, you know why. Luna is a different scenario since she has a passive that ups her crit rate, so she never had a problem with that, but Little Queen Charlotte definitely does. Now, whether or not you want to build it as a damage dealer, I'll talk about that as we're going through the skills. We do have the skill mods up as I'm doing this recording. A bit unusual, but yeah, it's a late day for me. If you want, the imprint concentration is 18% attack, self-attack. That's quite a bit. On her base attack, you're looking at about a 200 attack increase. That's no joke at all. The imprint release is a health, 12.9%, 2 slots, sort of like SSB, but just on the front and the bottom instead of the front and the top. While I think that the imprint release and the imprint concentration both are really good, please don't be panicked to summon for multiples of her. I don't think that the way her kit is laid out, the imprint concentration may be more important than the imprint release. But I wouldn't like spend all your bookmarks just to pull multiples of her. In fact, I would say if you get artifacts, I would do that. Get multiple of her artifact. We'll talk about that at the end of this hero discussion. But if SSB can be imprinted with green Bologna, then Holiday Yufine should be able to be imprinted with green Yufine. If you summon Mystics, Yufine will make it back into a Mystic rotation. Perhaps you just need these imprints, and you just summon for an ML5 that you really want on that banner. I would do it that way. For those who are free to play and you have taken the bait of summoning for Celine, and multiple Celine, and multiple of Celine's artifact, or summon for Mui as well, this may be pretty depressing for you, because she's really good. Holiday Yufine is really good. I'm not trying to like oversell this. I really do believe that. Anyways, on to her skills. First things first is skill 2 is a passive skill. So it reduces the effect of the decreased combat readiness debuff inflicted on all allies by 30%. Now, if you do add the total skill enhance, that's up to 50%. Right? So 50%. 50% decreased combat readiness debuff. Now, from the video itself, I'm not quite sure if they were showcasing a 30% or a 50%. I think it doesn't cancel out. So for example, if you run this Yufine into a Basar comp, Basar pushes back for 30%. I think it's 50% of that 30%. So he'll end up pushing only 15%. So it's kind of like, it's not how hit chance works, which when we get to Briar Witch Assyria, we'll talk about that, but it doesn't cancel out. So it's not like if it's at 30%, it's going to cancel out 30% push, but rather it's just a reduction. So 50% of a 30% of a Basar push would be the 15. And I'm just thinking about this right now. I love using what's it, Lytica. I love using Lytica for the 100% pushback. So if it's up to 50%, honestly, she's only going to push back 50% if, let's say, Yufine is in the opponent's party. So it does not, the effect does not stack with other passive skills of the same name. Increases evasion by 50% when their caster's max health. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, those of you who, you could probably leave a YouTube comment there. I'm not quite sure. It's late in the night for me. It's 12:45 a.m. Not quite sure what that means. The effect does not stack with other passive skills of the same name. Like, is that possible? Like, I mean, the wording implies that there's 2 Holiday Yufine on the same battlefield on your team, which is impossible. So I'm not quite sure there, but the evasion by 50% with the caster's max health, now that is a beauty, and this is a huge selling point. In her showcase, you actually see that Smilegate was showcasing her against Basar, and honestly, I think almost everything she has is like a great Basar counter. So I mean, this itself is already, so because Basar is green and she's fire, so already have 50% chance of missing, but increases the 50% of her max health. I'm sorry, 50% evasion when she's at max health, which is usually pretty easy since Basars generally run first in terms of like the first quote-unquote damage. I think if people want to run Basar now on any sort of AI based defense comp, they will really have to consider Holiday Yufine into the fray. So they will have to big brain and run like a faithless Lytica, but even that, like I'm saying in like a arena defense comp or something like that, even if you run a faithless Lytica and there's no way to ensure that they won't bring like a Fallen Cecilia, you're still not going through the max health thing, so she'll always be evading Basar, and if she evades Basar and she has immunity, she can't get stunned and then follows all her other skills. Yufine special, this is the S3, dispels 2 debuffs from all allies and attacks all enemies in the middle of the night market. So that's the description of the S3. Before granting the caster increased attack, so it's greater attack by the way, for 2 turns, and increased combat readiness of all allies by like 20%. Now that's pretty disgusting. That's like mini DJ Basar just without immunity. Now keep in mind, this is not an ML hero. This is just a limited RGB hero. So I mean, if you don't have DJ Basar, I don't know, man. I think she does a bit better job than DJ Basar, other than the fact that she doesn't heal. We'll talk about the stunning part in a bit, but honestly, man, I think DJ Basar needs a buff now. Really, yes, the CR boost is not as high. All right, like I get it, there's differences, but I'm just saying that she packs a punch quite a bit, and versus Basar teams, this is fantastic. She will never get stunned, right? She will never get stunned. He will always miss as long as her max, her health is maxed. So she dispels the 2 debuffs. So let's just say unbuffable and Abyssal Crown, right? It doesn't really push them back already that much if you max out her S2, since only 15% pushback. And then she dispels it and then increases the combat readiness of all allies by 20%. The only missing thing here, like I said, is immunity, and then she's already a better DJ Basar. Now she sets up the greater attack buff for herself, and only, but that's fine. It's fine actually. It's very good with what she has with the S1. The Soulburn here grants an extra turn, so 3 turn greater attack buff. 10 soul doesn't cost much, but I mean, for some specific fights, maybe you want that. It's not a bad one. There's a 1 turn cooldown there, so there's only 4 turns, maximum 4 turns. The damage dealt on this isn't that high. It's at that usual 30%, which I find like in the Alencias, and they usually kind of like the supportery potential damage dealers. We do have her mods as well. Let me just pull this up here. So Yufine special, yeah, so it's the attack rate of 1 and a POW of 1. It's very, very, very normal. I don't think she's meant to be a cleaver, like built as a cleaver, and if the Basar is pushing back anyway, and you had like a attack buffer before Yufine, it's kind of pointless because they would have unbuffable on them. Let's just say Basar landed it. So maybe you want her in the front, right? So she does a lot to counter Basar if you're just using her to counter Basar. She does a lot for that. So you may want her just like at the forefront of your whole speed tuning. And so a 1x rate for an AoE attack is not that bad. She's not gonna get an attack buff out of it. So I don't know, to be honest, if you need to build her as a priority damage dealer. I think having damage on her is good, like high attack, maybe some high effectiveness. Maybe you don't even need that much effectiveness, but definitely high attack because the greater attack buff. And then she'll show the S3 animation, at least one shot of it. Very cute. It's a bit long for my liking, to be honest. I feel that I would get very bored of it. Like it's not quick, it's not snappy. Like Yufine's S3, like green Yufine's S3 is just like Dragon Blade, and then sorry guys for the voice acting, but then just like, you know, it just chops and this is it, right? But hers is like has this like whole like kind of story to it, so I feel it might be get a bit old quick, sadly. But the last shot is kind of nice. Skill 1. Now here's where it is. Like I was already amazed by her, but this amazes me more. So it's up to 60% chance. So if you look at the Mola, up to +4 there, up to 60% chance to burn for 1 turn. And when used on the caster's turn, the attack attacks all enemies. So it's AoE, and also the attack is unaffected by elemental disadvantage. All right, so that is a huge deal. That is a huge deal. So if people are worried about the ice meta, like I said, man, I don't know. It's not really an ice meta anymore. We got a lot of options RGB wise. But the yeah, so the changed attack is unaffected by the elemental disadvantage and does not trigger a dual attack, and that's understandable. It becomes a pretty broken skill. So now that you burn does a ton of damage. It ignores defense. I think it's like 60% of your attack or something, and 70% ignore defense. It's insane. If you guys have watched me from the get-go and watched me use my SC carrot, you know how much burn damage can do. Like especially if you have a greater attack. I usually run a Mascot Hazel with the carrot if I can. And so Holiday Yufine, I mean, she does herself greater attack buff. I mean, there's no other outside attack greater attack buffer outside of like Yuna. So the ability for herself to do it, and then on the next turn after her S3 you do the S1, you're gonna get burns on everyone most likely. So very, very, very crazy. I know I keep talking about Basar, and Smilegate is showcasing Basar, but honestly guys, I think that she has a lot in her kit. It's just very obvious she could deal with Basar, but honestly she could deal with a ton of stuff. So the missing chance, 50% evasion, even let's say if you face like an Ice Roman, which is technically the ice version of Basar, not the same, but it's like pushback to strip and stuff like that. She still has a 50% chance to evade, right? It's just that on Basar it's 100%. So if you put her on immunity, you have a 50% chance to evade. You have a 15% for it to like resist the strip, so the immunity stays on. So no other after effects happen. So very, very, very solid, and then comes back with crazy AoE damage in terms of the S1. Oh, actually, hold on, I have the data mine here too. So the attack rate on the S1 is not high. It's 0.7, very, very low, but just judging that you're really gonna go for the burn damage, I honestly don't think that you really even need to max Molo the S1 there. Probably get it to a +4 if you plan to use her burn. But just like skyrocket that attack, you know? That's why the self-imprint, I get it, is very tempting, because like she really, really wants it, right? But like, you know, having no crit rate in her innate stats is sort of beneficial in a way, because it forces you to be like, okay, you know what, let's make her speedy, let's make her tanky, effectiveness, high attack. Maybe that's all you need to go for. So immunity speed set is, I think, probably the only way. So I don't think the changed attack, it doesn't happen on counters. So like it's kind of pointless going for a counter. Although judging by the reading, you'll still burn, but only one target. if it's on a counter set. This is the changed S1. So she eats this thing and then boom, into this fiery furnace, which is cool. It's fantastic. Now onto her artifact. Honestly, I think, oh man, just like every time they release a limited hero, it's just like, oh crap, please don't make the artifact super broken. Don't make the artifact super broken. As I'm making this recording, I already know what's gonna happen. The artifact is really good. Like I said, I would only go for one hero and just over time feed green Yufines into her if I wanted the imprint, just like how I did for my SSB. But I know this. If you guys will see me summoning this, I will be getting multiple heroes, no artifacts. The artifact is definitely worth it. Look at this, alright? So increases effectiveness. I'm looking at the max level one. Increases effectiveness by 30%. There's no degradation. There's no degradation on in the artifact. Now we have had many artifacts now limited to like either like Melissa's artifact has effectiveness, but that's a mage artifact. There's like other ones that have, I think was it Mui's artifact? That had effectiveness too, but it started dropping over time. This is just flat 30% effectiveness. There you go, but boom. That's Alencia's Mind's Eye right off the bat, pretty much. And then up to 26% chance to stun the enemy for 1 turn after using a basic skill. The effect is not affected. This effect is not activated by counterattack, dual attack, extra attack. So if you're using this artifact, Champion's Trophy, on Holiday Yufine, it's kind of obvious. Like, I think immunity set, speed set will be the best all-rounder for her. Now, what kind of stats you want to get there, I think that's debatable. It's gonna be a bit of a test. But honestly, man, there's nothing wrong with this artifact at all. Given her skills, and maybe you want to just go high attack for the burns, getting that stun is just insane. This is our now warrior Abyssal Crown, but even better, since I think Abyssal Crown stops at 24%, if I remember correctly. At max level is 24%. This is 26. Same turn count, except that it just won't trigger on a dual attack, extra attack, or counter attack, which is Abyssal Crown can, but you have the base increased effectiveness, and again, this is on a warrior. This is kind of groundbreaking artifact, a must have. So Holiday Yufine, like I said at the beginning, if you were free to play and you were baited to pulling RGB, I hope you get lucky and get her quick. And her artifact, you do not want to miss this artifact. In my opinion, you do not want to miss it. Stuns are just like one of the most obnoxious debuff in the game. I mean, this is why ML Tywin right now went from like a, I don't know, like a C tier hero to like an S tier hero. It almost just is on the stun, not even his debuff, his passive. Anyways, long one. I'm pretty excited about this. Definitely be pulling for it. I have skipped technically 2 RGB banners. So I have, yeah, I can definitely get the hero. I just hope I get the artifact. Anyways, I'm gonna end this for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.